My name is Tosin Omolaja, and you're welcome to NAFDAC and your else, where we bring you all the important information you need to know about NAFDAC, the agency saddled with the responsibility of safeguarding our health by ensuring that the foods, drugs, cosmetics, and medical equipment made available to us are safe and wholesome. On today's edition of the program, we'll focus on the problem of food contamination and poisoning. Although this may be a common narrative in our society, in some cases it has proven fatal. NAFDAC, as the agency of government charged with the responsibility of safeguarding the health of every Nigerian, leaves no stone unturned in ensuring that the food made available to us in our markets are safe for consumption. But we have a critical role to play to ensure we don't fall victims of food poisoning.
Food poisoning is a common occurrence, but that can be easily prevented. As a regulatory agency, we put on the label best used when it is used at this date, or best date to use. It is because if the food is kept beyond that date, it can result in food poisoning. But in the house, if we put food on the shelf, cooked food on the shelf for too long, or we keep foods that are supposed to be in the freezer, we keep them in the fridge for too long, they can cause food poisoning. Food poisoning also can be caused by injection of chemicals, either through food additives or through accidental ingestion. But whatever the case is, as a regulatory agency, our goal is to safeguard the health of Nigerians, and we are very, very particular about food additives, about the temperature at which a food can be kept, about the expiration dating on food, extremely important. Because if all these things were violated, then there could be food poisoning.
The importance of food cannot be overemphasized. However, when dangerous foreign elements find their way into our foods or water, consuming them might become poisonous instead of being nutritious.
Take an example, the plates. The food may be good. If you wash the plate with dirty water, you've contaminated the food. Drinks, even the cups that you use, if that water is contaminated, and you rinse it and then pour the drinks, there's still a little of the water there. It can cause a problem like typhoid. The source of the food, if you go to to get your water in a very bad place, of course, it's contaminated right from the source. Exposure to flies, exposure to heat, again, it's contaminated in a way because it's breaking down. If meat breaks down, it's not just the protein that came with the meat, other things are already there. That's contamination. If somebody has diarrhea and you don't wash your hands very well, and you are in a restaurant as a cook, and you are using your finger, of course the germs are under the nails. So the food preparer can also be the source of contamination.
Whether it is food or water, adding chemicals and other substances either to enhance the food or change its form can be very dangerous, especially when we cannot verify the source and content of such additives. Recently in Kano State, a case of food poisoning led to the demise of at least 3 people.
The incidence of food poisoning in Kano is a very sad event because it resulted in, I believe, 3 fatalities and compromised health of some individuals after that. I believe it happened March 11, 2021. As soon as NAFDAC got a wind of it, our post-marketing surveillance group visited the hospitals, and then the number of patients kept increasing. And they tracked this down to some flavored drinks. So they asked the patients to bring the samples. So they brought the samples to the hospital, and they also brought an additive that was kept in a transparent freezer bag. They call it dansami in the north. So those samples were taken to our lab in Kaduna for testing. After that, we also were informed that sachet water was used to make the drink. The flavored drink is in powder form, crystal form. So the sachet water was also sent. And then there was another chemical, unknown chemical, that was sold as food additive. And this chemical, for 25 kilo bag, was supposed to be like 30,000 naira. So one of the merchants bought it for 3,000 and sold it to another merchant for 7,000. And this merchant that got it for 7,000 assumed or thought it is the dansami that they normally use, and we were told that he actually tasted it in his mouth. I said, yeah, it is what makes drinks sour. Dansami is what is used in the northern part to make drinks sour. So this unknown sample, 25 kilo bag, was also sent to our lab in Kaduna. So we have 5 flavored drinks. 2 of them were registered, the 3 were not registered. And any food that is not registered is unwholesome food, is fake food, most likely smuggled into the country. So we tested all the samples, the food samples, and there was E. coli bacteria in some, and you wonder how E. coli bacteria will get into powder. But it depends on the storage. If it is stored in very humid condition and expired, the packaging probably was getting compromised, you can get bacteria into dry medium or powdered medium. But ordinarily, it shouldn't happen. We tested the chemical or the additive that was in the plastic bag, the tiny plastic bag, and we found out it was citric acid. Citric acid is what they normally use to make drinks sour, or it is called dansami. Nobody should use chemical, should add chemical to food. Sodium chloride is table salt. That is about the only chemical that should be added to food for taste. But in any case, we tested this, the one in the tiny plastic bag to be citric acid. And the 25 kilo bag was also tested with in our lab in Kaduna, and was found to be hydroxylamine. Hydroxylamine is a poison. It's used for leather tanning, and it can be, sometimes it's used for terrorism acts. So what I then told Kaduna lab is to send the sample to Lagos for more confirmation. And it was confirmed on our Fourier transform infrared equipment that it is hydroxylamine. This is very sad because it resulted in people dying. When we get news like this in NAFDAC, there are about 5 directorates that may be involved, at least 3, but sometimes 5 or 6 directorates. First, I called the director of EFSAN, Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, and Food Registration and Regulatory Affairs. Is this in our database? All these products, are they in our database? 2 were found in our database. The others were not. So 3 of them were unregistered. So you have 2 directorates already involved. Immediately called Post-Marketing Surveillance, Pharmacovigilance Post-Marketing Surveillance Directorate, because we have to send an alert to all our 36 formations plus FCT that the unregistered surveillance should be done on the unregistered and morphed. That makes 3 directorates. Of course, we send to the lab. That's 4th directorate. And I called the Chemical Evaluation and Research Directorate, Mrs. Honora. Is this chemical in our database? Did we give permit for this chemical? No, it's not in our database. I called Post Inspection Directorate, making 6 now, okay. Was this chemical ever imported into Nigeria? No. So this chemical did not pass through NAFDAC. So very, very likely it was smuggled.
NAFDAC and your health will be right back. Please stay tuned.
The MedSafety app is the latest reporting tool introduced by the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control in November 2020 as part of the Innovative Medicines Initiative project. The app is made available to the public in collaboration with World Health Organization, Uppsala Monitoring Center, Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, UK, and National Agency for Food, Drugs and Administration and Control, NAFDAC. The MedSafety app allows users to track safety information of medicines, vaccines and other health products, report adverse drug reaction to a medicine or vaccine, and view data on suspected side effects. When you have received your COVID-19 vaccine, you can use the MedSafety app to report any adverse reaction or side effect you may feel. The app can be used by anybody, irrespective of whether you are a medical practitioner or not. You, your family and friends, everyone can download and use the MedSafety app to report adverse drug reaction. Just search for MedSafety on Google Play Store for Android and App Store for iOS. When using the app for the first time, the user needs to select his or her region, in this case, Nigeria, and also choose the preferred language of choice. The user will then be taken to the login page where you create an account by providing your email and password or proceed as a guest. To create an account, you are required to provide the following details: reporter type, example, physician or pharmacist, as well as their name and email address, password with at least 9 characters with 1 uppercase letter and a number. Read the privacy statement and accept. Once you are logged in, the user is presented with a number of tabs, which includes news, products and watch lists. Under the Report tab, the user can report a new suspected adverse drug reaction, ADR. On opening a new report, the user is prompted to input patient details, which include initials, sex, and date of birth. The user is then required to input details of the suspected medicine. These include suspected medicine name, other drug details such as strength, batch, dosage details. Multiple suspect drugs and concomitant drugs can be added at any time. The report can be saved and completed at a later time. A saved report can be found on Pending Reports and can be continued by clicking on the report and continuing from where the user stopped. Enter reaction details, reaction date and outcomes. Multiple suspects' reaction can also be added. Also, Further details about the report can also be included, such as did the reaction cause prolonged hospitalization, disability, congenital anomaly, or birth defect, life-threatening results in deaths, and so on. Finally, you can also add details of any relevant medical history before submitting the report. The user receives a message on the app confirming submission and an acknowledgement in the mail for submission. Reports can be created and saved without internet connection and be sent whenever internet connection is available. The product tabs show all medicines in the NAFDAC list database. It's easier to navigate to a drug or vaccine of interest, and this data is obtained from the WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center. User can also add products of interest to their watch list to get the latest information on the drugs. All products added to the watch list can be viewed in the watch list tab. The News tab displays drug safety information by NAFDAC. This is usually up to date with drug safety information. Registered users can also edit their profile or change app settings. For more information on the app, please contact the National Pharmacovigilance Center (NPC) at NAFDAC headquarters, plot 2032, Olusegun Obasanjo Way, Wuse Zone 7, Abuja, or call 09290511110 or send email to medsafetyapp@nafdac.gov.ng or pharmacovigilance@nafdac.gov.ng.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are watching NAFDAC and your rails. Before any chemical can be legally imported into Nigeria, full authorization and permits must be obtained from NAFDAC. This ensures that no dangerous chemicals are brought into the country and used to the detriment of the Nigerian people.
If you're asking that you want to import certain chemicals, and there are the ones that we've seen that they can be diverted to wrong use, we have to ensure that it's going for a particular use, is needed. And then we also try to limit the quantity that we give you for importation so that you don't have stockpiling, because when you have excess of chemicals and you find them expiring in warehouses, that's when you start seeing them being abandoned or maybe diverted to wrong use. And then we do what we call end-to-end monitoring for certain chemicals that are of safety and security concern. We have to follow up your import. It's not just that you have permit to import. Once you bring in a particular consignment, you have to do what we call permit to clear. It's a way of recording that I brought this so number of containers of this particular chemical has just landed into the shores of Nigeria. So we follow up with your consumption, your distribution pattern. You give us your reports. What is your utilization pattern? Who have you sold whatever to? These are the things you have to satisfy to us even before we give you additional quantity of those chemicals to import. We always insist that you sell the chemical. Let's say if this is the original pack of the chemicals, you have to sell it the way you received it from manufacturer. You don't have any right to repackage it into smaller packets as if you are retailing it. That's part of the education and enforcement we try to use, because I think most of this diversion comes when you start retailing chemicals into smaller packs. And we also try to do a lot of education for the general public, because when people are knowledgeable and they don't even patronize them, then they will not have market for it.
Despite all the measures being put in place by NAFDAC to ensure safe foods, chemicals, and other regulated products, there are those who still find ways to smuggle these chemicals into the country.
This is heartbreaking because 3 people died. One person is too many in terms of food safety or misuse and abuse of chemicals. One person is too many. And that is why we are doing what we are doing. That the public should be made to know that you don't add chemicals to food, because you don't know who is selling the chemical to who. First of all, you shouldn't add chemicals to food except table salt. To say you want to use chemical to make things sour, you just never know what you're adding. And chemicals kill very fast. Because, first of all, there is no amount. It's not a prescribed amount that you should add this to this. No. So that is why we are going on a campaign about food additives. We have food additives, regulated food additives in different foods. We have sugar for drinks. We have saccharin for drinks. We have aspartame, different sweeteners. But these are things that come with inside the food, in the formulation of the food, not something you sprinkle, like what happened in Kano. But I also called EFSAN, the Inspectorate Directorate of Food, to do a sting operation on the companies that manufacture the registered food, the 2 registered flavored drinks. We are running tests on the samples now that we took, and we put all the flavored drinks in the factories on hold. So the investigation still continues because NAFDAC will not stop at anything but a safe food for our people. So it is unfortunate that this happened. I was in Kano for 2 days, met with the Commissioner of Health, met with the governor, and presented the preliminary results to the governor.
So far, all the merchants involved in the proliferation of the chemicals in this particular incident have been apprehended. Investigations are still ongoing, and those culpable will be made to face the wrath of the law. NAFDAC, however, is working very closely with the Kano state government to ensure this doesn't happen again.
We are working closely with the state task force. The state task force is under the federal task force, and federal task force is domiciled in NAFDAC, and we have the law C-34 to back as a legal framework for the federal task force. So we are working with the state task force in Kano and also with the Consumer Protection Agency in Kano.
We'll bring you the concluding part of this edition on food safety next week on the program. That's our package for today. Please join us same time, same station next week for a fresh edition. In the meantime, if you have comments, complaints, or you want to report activities of fake drugs or adulterated food products peddlers, our doors are always open. You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded. Remember, COVID-19 is real. Please ensure you and your family follow the safety measures as outlined by the NCDC. Stay away from crowded places as much as possible, and if you must be out there, wear a face mask. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water, and ensure you use NAFDAC-approved alcohol-based hand sanitizers. See you next week. Stay safe.